Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to address this email I got from one of my YouTube viewers. So I've redacted some of the personal information here. So this is from William, and they mentioned that, well, they watch the videos. So thank you for that. And then the question here is about extracting line outs from SAM. And my guess is that they watch my SAM 3 video. And that is why they are asking this question. So separate them, like prepare those images for SDXL LoRA training. Now, what I understand from line out for me, it's black and white line out where we have solid black outline on a pure white background. This is what I understand, which is why I have this specific prompt right here. And I've also went ahead and mentioned that I would like to remove shadings, gradients, textures, colors, any fine details. I don't think those are going to count towards line out. If we were to use ControlNet, we would actually get a lot of details. So I don't think using ControlNet is good in this specific case. Instead, I will be using a workflow that I've been enjoying a lot lately, and that's the Flux.2. I guess it's Klein 9B. Let me know how to say this word, like it's Klein or Klein. I'm not really sure. So I've showcased this workflow like a couple of times. I've made modification to accommodate for this change from any kind of object or subject into line art. So let me show you how it works first. I'm going to click on the run button, and you can see here that was quite quick. I'm basically extracting the subject from the image, and you can see here it's on a clean, transparent background, and then we process it to get a clean line art. This type of line art is very difficult with ControlNet. Even if you were to use that scribble one, it's still not going to be as clean as it is here. Now we can do another example. So let's say you have dress, shirt. This one you can see it's not like a square image. Still, we can extract it. Even though the extraction itself is not clean, you can see we have like a halo type of effect around. It will still get everything correct in the final image, like most of the time. Now you can see that the cloth foldings are being translated here. So if you don't want this, you may have to retouch at the end, but otherwise we got the buttons, we got those pockets at the top, the color, all of that is well translated. Now we can also do, let's do this like a subject. So at the top you can see I'm not changing my like prompt for cutting out. It's still getting the main subject in there, and you can see here it's converting it into line art. And I'm just using this simple prompt. It's my positive prompt, and it should work for pretty much all scenarios out there. If you do find some scenarios that it's not working for, let me know and we can brainstorm to find the correct prompt then. Otherwise, you can see here we have like pretty much the exact same character. It's just line art. Now I do see that we have like 2 lines for the fabric of the cloth, and in here you can see that we have these lines in here. Now this will depend on your training data. Like if you want this to be a solid line, you may have to do some retouching, some work in there. Otherwise, this is as good as it's going to be. So let me explain how everything works. Well, as usual, you will get the node and well, where to place everything. By the way, I'm using the GGUF version of the model. It's small, it's fast. This is what I'm going to recommend using. You will need to place it inside of UNet folder. If you are using the FP8 version, then you will need to add your FP8 here. So this section here is about the models. By the way, the FP8 link is also included in here. All right. So one trick that you can use in order to replace any of these nodes is to click on that node that you want to replace, and then click on this button, which is going to convert it into a subgraph. And inside a subgraph, you can think it as a workflow inside another workflow. So it's like a sub workflow. We only have this in this specific workflow. So in here, you can add your load diffusion model like this. And of course, you're going to select your FP8 from here. Then you can see that model connect here. So just replace the connection. And then you just need to back to the previous screen. So the overall screen, you can click on this button here to go back. Then click on the subgraph itself. You will get the toolbar at the top. Click on this expand or unpack button, and now you will have these nodes. So you can see my load diffusion model is connected, and the GGUF version is disconnected. So that's one trick that you can use. I'm going to show you another one here just as a tip. By the way, if you already know all of this, feel free to skip ahead. So we'll go back into Subgraph again, click on Enter Subgraph, and in here, natively, as long as you have ComfyUI updated, you can search for switch. By the way, double click, search for switch, and you will see this one, ComfyUI switch node. This is a native one, and you can connect these two to it. And this switch here, you can connect to an input like this, right? So this is something that you can do, and the output basically connects as model. Right now it's off, so we can see if it is false, it will use the GGUF. If it is true, it will use load diffusion. So at the top here, you can say like diffusion model, something like this. And if the user want to use diffusion model, they will switch it to on. When we go back, and let's say you don't want to have this single subgraph as your main switch, you can expand it and get your models into this format here. Arrange it, do anything that you would like to do with it. So by default, it's off since I have the GGUF version of the model. Now this should be self-explanatory. We have load clip and load VAE. These two are from the example workflow itself. So when you download the Flux.2 9b workflow directly from templates, it will ask you to download this. Now next, there is a load image node here. Actually, this can be anything. Let's just say input image, and you will put your input image here. The subject does not need to be cut out or on a blank background. Then, like I said, this prompt is working really well for me. There's no need to change it. The prompt itself, like the conditioning, will go in as reference latent, and we need to have a positive and negative. So this top one is positive, the bottom one here is the negative. For negative, I'm just doing a conditioning zero out, which zero out this prompt, and then we pass it as reference latent, and you can see here the connection goes as negative, this one as positive. Model is coming from my load GGUF here at the top. Now this is the CFG guider. We also need the sampler, so I'm using the key sampler select. It's just EULA for now. If you prefer a different one, you can select it from here. Then we need the sigma. So this is going to give us the number of steps. As you can see, I'm doing only 4 steps, and it's enough to get good detail for line art. Now this also need the width and height. This way we'll know what is the dimension of that image that we are trying to generate. And for this, I'm doing a get image size. But before that, I'm also doing an image scale to total pixel, because this model here works best with 1024 by 1024. I have it at megapixel 1.0. So for example, let's just try this grass. You can see that the dimension here is actually low resolution, only 150 pixel on the height. So this will go here and it will resize it. Now let me run this in the meantime. All right, so we can see it here. It's basically resizing to 1 megapixel, and then the width and height is increasing. If it's a too high resolution input image, it will decrease it to match the 1 megapixel in here. Okay, so this gives us the size, and we'll need to pass it to the Flux.2 scheduler as well as, okay, we'll talk about this here. As well as this empty Flux.2 latent. The latent, of course, pass as latent image, and then we need some noise, like random noise in there. Okay, now let's address where we are getting the image. So I'm not passing this image directly into the pipeline. It's possible that you can do it, especially if you have your subject. So for example, this here, it's already on a white background, it's cut out basically. So we can take this image and pass it directly to the pipeline here, and I'm going to disable this. So you can see this top part is disabled right now. And yes, it's still able to convert it correctly. So this is something that you can do, and you can just bypass the top part. However, if we take another example, so if we take this, for example, you can see here we have the background, and the background as well will get converted. So this is why I'm taking the image and sending it here. And this is the SAM3 cutout, and I'm just saying subject. So it will automatically determine what is the subject in this case. And in this specific case, it identified that the bird is the subject. So you can see it here. Next, this here, this image will go into an image composite. And let me just make the connection. Now you can see that it's extracting the subject on a white background. So white here, well, the color white in this empty image is actually this number. And if you want it to be black, you will put 0, and this will be black. And well, I guess you can go in the middle, something like this, to be around gray. So let this complete. Well, actually it's red, so you need to play around with this number in order to get gray. But as you can see, like, just change this number until you have a contrast between your subject and the background. I'm just going to go with white since it should work pretty well in most cases. Okay, we can see it here. Really nice line art of our subject here. Now, other than this, I think we've covered everything. Well, if you want to generate multiple like variations of this, you can click on this pencil icon and then do randomized value while everything else is the same. That's one thing that you can change. You can change your key sampler. But for line art, I think EULA is going to work just fine. You can actually increase this resolution to around 1.6. Now you will see it's 1810 by 927. This takes longer to generate, but it should give you like a higher quality. Now you can see that the bird shift a little bit to the left side. So to fix that part, that shifting part, especially in here, you can see that the bird is more towards the left compared to the middle. So if you want the bird to be in the middle or placed somewhere else, then we are going to do, let's just shift the bird maybe by, actually, just so that we can test, I'm going to disable this node while this is muted. Then we'll only focus at the top. Otherwise, it's going to run the bottom one every time. I'm going to do like 50 pixels on the X. X means horizontal and then Y means vertical. Okay, let's do 150. Now you can see the bird is more or less in the middle. So something like this. Okay, so now that you have your subject in the middle, then you can go ahead and do your generation at the bottom. By the way, if you are going to use this for only like training purposes, and you want like a specific width and height, then you can remove this image scale to total pixel as well as the get image size and just focus on changing these two. As you can see here, it's by default it's 1024 by 1024 on both of these, but it's being overwritten by this get image size. So if you want a specific size for all of your training, then you just need to change it here. All right, so that's a very good, I would say, like almost perfect line art. There's one line here and this here, it's not like completely connected. So if we were to like paint this, this will be a gap. Anyways, that's a different kind of issue that we're not really concerned with. So for this, I think the work that works. So William can hopefully you watch this video, and if you have any other questions, you can let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching until the very end. Have a nice day. Take care. I will see you next time.